Can we now ask Fred MacGillivray to come to the stage, please?
Fred MacGillivray of Halifax has left a lasting impact on this city with his initiatives to bring world-class sporting events to Nova Scotia and his involvement in over 30 nonprofit and charitable organizations, including the success of the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame.
Reaching outside of this job, bringing so many great international and national sporting events to Nova Scotia, all the great hockey world championships, the CIS basketball championship, the CFL. Fred was he's a doer and he's a visionary and a great ambassador, and those attributes have helped so many people in Nova Scotia, so I'm so proud that he's being inducted this year.
He's outstanding in that way. I respect him a tremendous amount because of who he is and what he's done, certainly in university sport. He always encouraged everybody, including myself, to think bigger.
He's impacted so many different people across the province. It's been amazing, and those attributes allowed us to develop a strategic plan to bring the Hall of Fame to the Trade Center, to the Scotiabank Center. And thanks to Fred, the state of the Hall of Fame has much to do with him helping us in those early years.
And I think that says a lot about who Fred is and how he thinks about the region, about the province, and about his philosophy around why would we ever think small when we can think big.
Fred secured Halifax as host for the Memorial Cup, the first Touchdown Atlantic CFL exhibition game, the CIS Basketball Championships, the first International Ice Hockey Federation Men's Championship to be held in Canada, the IIHF Women's Championship, and the IIHF World Juniors Championship, for which he was the chair.
As we celebrate the festive season, what better gift could we present to ourselves than the World Junior Hockey Championships 2003? How could you not love Major Junior Hockey? It's the best product in town. Families come out, they all enjoy the games. I mean, they come here because the kids come every night to play.
And when you look at the results now, and you look back on that and see the results of bringing those events to Halifax, we kind of became our own worst enemy in ways, because some of those events now will never come back to Halifax because they've grown way beyond our capacity, which I think speaks a lot to the vision that Fred had for those events in the first place.
The other thing too, all these events set attendance records, and for not the largest city in Canada to do those just showed the passion, desire that Fred put into these events, and I think it became contagious, and the people supported it.
There's few people you can say are true champions of an area, of an event, of the city. And Fred is all of those things. He's not only a champion of Nova Scotia, a champion of the region, of Canada, and that came through in Fred's work. Came through in the events that he was involved with and had us involved with, and extremely passionate about the economic survival of the area, very passionate about people, very passionate about doing the right thing, and I think that's what makes Fred who he is. I think that if you look at it from a sporting perspective, just the number of events that came to Halifax and the size of those events, they were impactful. We have yet seen a lot of those kind of events come since then. And, the Final Eight is a prime example. It was here for 24 consecutive years, and the rest of the country seen that event as a huge university event. And the rest of the country wanted to host that event because of the success here in Halifax. I think that the biggest piece is just him being a champion of all those things, whether it's in business or whether it's in sport or whether he's just a true champion of leadership.
Just like to welcome everyone at the Hall of Fame induction. We're at Rogers Place, the new home of the Edmonton Oilers. But to Fred MacGillivray, congratulations. You're a Hall of Famer. And I put on my old hat, President of Hockey Canada, and I look at hosting the World Juniors, Women's Worlds, and then the Men's Worlds. Fred, Halifax is the only city that's done this. It came under your leadership, and there's no better person being inducted to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to you and your family. Have a wonderful evening.
Well, I think for what he contributed to the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame alone, in my mind, would justify him getting in as a builder. What he did for 10 years as a volunteer board member, he got the location relocated, we got financially strong. But over and beyond that, what he brought to sport, university sport, professional sport, whether it be hockey, CFL, Fred was the key guy.
You know, he just went in, you know, as the old saying goes, head down, horns in to get, you know, things done. And I think that's an important attribute if you're going to be a leader. And sometimes you're not always making popular decisions, but you're making decisions, and that moves things forward. And Fred was always that person, and did it with passion, and did it with understanding. You know, and you think about understanding, you know, both sides of the argument, so to speak. Fred just had a way of culminating all those thoughts and getting people on the same path as opposed to in opposing positions. And you know, you can take a lot of learning from somebody with those kind of attributes.
He inspired me not only because of his passion. Fred became a great friend, and you could really tell he was, you know, concerned about people, and I think his charitable work really reflected that. You know, and Fred cares. He always has, and still does. And he cares about the city, cares about people, cares about the people in the city, cares about the province, and you know, I always respected that and took a lot from his guidance around those things. I know the many people that have worked with him in business and in charity know Fred's a caring person, and I think that touches people and makes Fred very special to a lot of people in Nova Scotia.
It's a combination of hard work, putting a good business case together, bringing together a large contingent of very committed volunteers, and the Halifax and Nova Scotia fan base clearly says to us, bring world-class events, we will come, we will support them. We've been building, I think, the courage of the community to want to do bigger and better things.
According to MacGillivray, there are several other major events on the way.
Next is the World Under-21 Men's Qualifying Basketball this July, first time ever in Canada. Then we have the Skate Canada coming, an international skating event in October. We're away in the next couple of weeks to try and bring the 2007 World Sailing Championships. That'll be a 7,500 person event. I'm in Prague in the Czech Republic in May to bring back hopefully the 2008 Men's World Hockey Championships for Halifax and Canada for the very first time.
Tonight, we induct Fred MacGillivray into the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame.
And to present the plaque, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Logan, the Senior Director of Scotiabank Centre. The pin, Garth Eisner, the President of Hockey Nova Scotia. We had a great old friend named Pat Connolly.
We sure did.
Yeah, and whenever he would introduce you, he'd say, he said it over and over, he said, you want a job done right, you give it to the busiest guy, which was you. At the very heart of it, what drove you?
First, I have to say why Pat said those kind words. I delivered his newspaper for many years where he lived up in Crystal Cove Road, and I was always on time. That's why he said those nice things about me.
All right, yeah. Back though to motivation, and what kept you going, kept you driving forward?
Well, we all have the ability to dream. Some of us have the ability to put a vision to the dream. But when you live in a community like Halifax and a province like Nova Scotia, and of course a country like Canada, you recognize as an individual, you're never going to achieve success by yourself. You have to work with many people. And being in this location, it was easy to reach out to the many people that I was able to meet over the years, especially the people I worked for and with, the province of Nova Scotia. I can't tell you how many times I went through the door of the Minister of Finance or the Cabinet, and they'd look at me and they'd say, what is he going to ask for this time? But they were always supportive. The city of Halifax were always supportive. Many times we were able to encourage the federal government to put monies into the projects that we wanted to build. But more so than anything, it was the people I worked with here at Trade Center who always stepped up, were always part of the events that we were doing, and very professional in putting it together. The people of this province and the city who volunteered, many hundred, into the thousands, would come out to these events. And most importantly, the people who lived in this community in Halifax and Nova Scotia and the Maritimes came and supported the events. And when they support the events and we have such success, that encourages people who want to build their brand like Hockey Canada to bring more events back to this city and to this province. Same with basketball, same with university sports, and many things that we did. And we were able to professionally build the brand, and they wanted to continue to be part of what we do here in Halifax.
What do you think, what do you think your years have told you is the key to great leadership?
Oh, it's being able to bring people together to accomplish success. If you're going to be a leader, first of all, you must be able to dream, as I said earlier. You must have some vision, but you must recognize you will never achieve without bringing people together who want to be part of what you're doing, like-minded people, and you will achieve success at the end of the day and help grow your community and hopefully grow it into the future and have more events come to our city.
I hope Trump's listening. God, I hope he's listening. Seriously. Of all the stuff, we saw it on the tape, what you did. I get the sense that 2003 World Junior, it's tough to pick a pinnacle, but that has to be pretty close.
It is. If you were there, and I'm sure many of you here tonight were there, and Bob Nicholson, who spoke so kindly about me tonight, I later joined him on the Hockey Canada board. A wonderful guy, but he said to me so many times, and Rennie Fassel, the president of the International Ice Hockey Federation, we've never seen it in our lives. When Germany's playing Belarus on a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, there's 11,000 people in the arena. We've never seen that in our lives. Every game that Halifax put on for the World Junior Hockey Championships was a sellout. And they still talk about it to this day, at how it grew the brand. And look at it today. It's 20,000 people in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton are attending these events. And it started here in Halifax. That's where we really opened the door to help the world recognize the good brand of hockey and how successful it was in Halifax.
You talk about junior hockey. My dad, whenever I come home, I can't get home for a trip without him talking about the old junior Canadians in Halifax. And this is kind of cool. We were trying to think, the Kikuchis, the Fahey's, the Downeys, that's 3 father-son duos in here. You make it another tonight. Tell us a bit about your dad.
My dad started the Halifax Junior Canadians back in the late 50s and 60s. And he had a dream. He wanted to have a major junior hockey club here in Halifax. He put it together and brought a lot of young men from around Canada and the U.S., started a team, built a great team. Many of them went on to the NHL. I can remember we were putting 6,000 to 7,000 people in the old Halifax Forum back in the 60s. And I think the only reason we were allowed to get all those people is my granddad was the fire chief, and I think he had a blind eye to what was going on there the occasional night. So he was very proud of what he achieved. We were proud as a family that he achieved all of that. And I must also mention about my dad. 20 years ago, I was standing on this stage to receive an award of him being inducted in the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. I'm very proud tonight to be part of this and be with my dad.
And a final one for you. This hall, obviously, is very near and dear to you. What does it mean?
It means a lot because it's, as Bill has mentioned earlier this evening, it allows us as a province to recognize the wonderful men and women who have achieved so much. I am so humbled and honored this evening to be with my fellow inductees when I look at these individuals and what they've accomplished and how hard they worked to get here tonight to be recognized. I mean, it is so special that we have a vehicle able to do that. And Bill said earlier tonight it was his objective that the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame would be the best Hall of Fame in Canada. It is, I can tell you firsthand from visiting many others. This is much admired. They've grown a great organization here. We will be able to celebrate our wonderful athletes and teams into the future for many, many years into the future because of their success.
Right. Can't say it better than that, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Fred MacGillivray.